And we're live. Okay.
Ta-da!
Waving.
Enter the hero.
Exactly.
I was playing that in my head. I was like, dun 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 dun.
That's a way to get hyped.
Yeah.
Definitely excited. Okay, so I'm just gonna start off. Anybody that's watching, hello, how are you? Okay. Hello and welcome to episode 2, our second episode of season 2 of Just Weebs. I'm your host, Onimaru. We're both your hosts, Onimaru and Shocking, and we're here today to talk about... Actually, we're here today to introduce a new series that we've got going called Director Digest, where we're talking about the best and brightest directors of the anime industry. And to kick it off, we wanted to talk about Masaaki Yuasa. So that's what this episode's about today. How do you feel about Masaaki Yuasa, Shah?
That's a good question. So I am a huge fan of Yuasa. I had on Tokyo Podfathers, we also did a director digest. I think it was roughly like 3 or 4 years ago, and one of them was on Yuasa. So I kind of like sat down and I watched all of his series because at the time I had only seen, I think, Ping Pong and Tatami. So I wanted to like sit down and watch everything. And I determined he is very good. He's really,
he's very good.
He's very good. I think he's probably one of the big anime directors, especially in recent years. He's definitely kind of gotten, made more of a name for himself. But I also think he's just one of the more one of the more distinct directors in the industry. So he does a lot of really cool things that make the medium really interesting and also help make his series stand out very much visually, thematically, and with the sound design and OST incorporation. So yeah. I think he is very good.
Yeah, I also think he's very good. He's very distinctive, especially mostly because of his style. That's like a big part of it. And kind of the works that he chooses. I feel like he's a big risk taker in terms of the stuff he like
100%
chooses to adapt, because it ends up being like very bold, very, very different from any other anime you've watched, and it's like its own experience. So like for context, so we're talking... I think we're not going to cover all of Yuasa's works in this one, because I'm also in a similar position to Shaw in a few years ago, that like I've only seen a handful of his works, so I'm going to cover those, and then we're going to cover his like full body of work like in like a part 2.
Yeah, but the only reason that I am ahead of the curve is because I did the homework years ago. Otherwise, I would not be in a good spot.
Yeah, and I only did the homework by chance because, like, during wedding season, not just when I was getting married, but I also was, like, going to 2 other weddings back to back. I was in another country with my family, and my younger cousin, had brought his laptop, and he was, like, telling me the next day, I was like, oh, yeah, I was watching, like, Ping Pong. Like, I watched all of it, like, last night. It was really good. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's on my list. Like, I've never watched that. It's, like, been on my list for years. And he's like... Have you not watched it? You've seen all this anime. Have you not seen Ping Pong? And I'm like, yeah, I also haven't watched Tatami Galaxy. I'm like, you are classless. Like, how have you not watched both of those, man?
Your cousin, like, really telling you off, like...
Yeah. So I was like, okay, bring the laptop over. We have some free time. We'll watch a few episodes. So we watched, like, 4 episodes together. And then, like, after that, I just was like, I promise you I will watch the rest and update you, give you the play-by-play as I finish. So...
Which is pretty easy to do because, like, those 2 works are only 11 episodes, which is why I think It's just great. We don't have that often. Like, I think that really helps to make his works like very easy recommendations to people. You know, like even if they see it and they're like, it looks kind of like cool, but like not. I don't know if it's for me. It's like it's literally 11 episodes. You could finish it in like 3 hours.
Exactly. And also like it makes it like well that also was part of what makes it super easy to refresh on. Because it's like, yes, it's only 11 episodes. It's like I don't have to like go through 110 episodes by like next week.
Spoiler. Yeah. Thank you for calling. I don't know if you saw what episode I'm on, but I'm cruising. I'm making progress.
No, you're like making awesome progress. Because I've been like seeing your thread and like it's so like detailed, and I'm like, crap, this is such a good idea. I should have like make my own notes. But then I'm like, I have to go through 110 episodes in a week. So
you flatter me. By detailed, it's like LOL. Like that's in a screenshot.
That's good. It's like a good little like memorable bookmark, and that's all you need.
True, I got you covered. But that's our podcast for next week's sneak preview of like, will I watch 110 episodes in 2 weeks for next episode's Legend of the Galactic Heroes podcast? But for now, we got the exact opposite with 11 episode series. Also inverse. Just and hi to everyone in chat that we didn't get to say hi to yet.
Hi everybody. Super excited for that pod, but also excited for this one. So let's kick things off officially with the Tatami Galaxy. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, so
it was good.
It was really good.
It was really good.
So I feel like in the grand scheme of Yuasa works, which he's made a lot actually. Like I have not counted how many individual series that he's been like the main creator director of. Like, and I mean, he's not the creator of Tatami Galaxy, the source material. There's actually a book series. I don't know if it's a series. There's 2 books that I think are in. Yeah, I think it's a book series because they're coming out with a sequel. Okay, so there are books that he has adapted. I'll put it that way. Yeah. So he has adapted Tatami Galaxy, which is not a light novel, just like good old fashioned novel, like just a book. And he adapted that, and this was made in 2010. And I was not watching anime back then, so I have no sense of how this fit into the community at the time. But I have always known it as like one of the go-to classic series. I think if you see that like 4chan meme 3x3 of like elitist, I'm trying to imitate it, like the elitist like favorites kind of thing. Yeah. It always makes it.
We're on our elitist phase. This is so good.
Yeah, this is the elitist phase. Like, so what's really, we were laughing about this behind the scenes, but we came back talking about 2 of like the most popular series, and the podcast did really well. Like, talking about Kaguya-sama and Spy Family, I guess kind of a recipe for success. And we were like, can't wait to fuck that up by talking about Yuasa.
It's all gonna go downhill now.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what we like doing, is talking about everything. No favorites, but yeah, as Muscard said in the chat, it's like you got the 3x3 elitists of like Tatami, Lane, Legend of the Galactic Hero, Technolize, a Ghibli film.
Still need to watch Technolize. Actually, I'm interested.
I do too, but
for Tatami though, I did hear people like calling it pretentious, and I don't know. I guess I could get it, but I didn't get that vibe watching it. But I don't know. I think like whenever someone calls something pretentious, I never notice it. Like I never have that thought in my mind as I'm watching something. So it's like,
you're too wholesome. The not elitist Evangelion fan over here being like, I didn't notice, but I
Evangelion.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, like the only thing, you got the 2 sides of the spectrum. You got what, at least the way I talk about it in like very bad meme terms, is like you got like the elitist approval, and then you got normie approval. And I can understand why it would not be very appealing to, let's say, like someone who just recently started out with anime, if only because the dialogue is very fast, especially the first 2 episodes.
Okay. I had a problem with that, actually. Yeah. I couldn't get into it. Like, I was just like, what is this? When is it going to slow down? When is it going to stop? And then, like, I thought it was going to be like Monogatari. Like, at a certain point, after enough pauses, I was just going to get into its rhythm and be okay. But it just wasn't happening. I was like, this is still just going too fast.
I think it did, like, around episode 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think it did, or maybe I just got used to it. I think either way, like eventually you kind of get used to it, but like at the beginning, it's a doozy. Like I know, like no matter what point you start watching it, you're like, okay, this is just going really fast. Like,
I think I just accepted it. I think, but
yeah,
I like to finish the first episode. I think was like tough, like just in
yeah,
terms of like, okay, this is just going too fast. It's like cramming so much information at once. But
yeah,
like, I get it because I have to think about it. I'm like, what is the purpose of this? And I'm like, oh, well, this is based on a novel, and probably like the introspection is super important. So they have to capture all of this in a 20-minute episode. So what's the best way to do this? Let's make it super speed. I'm like, okay, fun.
yeah,
Pause, 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 pause. So
yeah,
that, but I could see how that, like you're saying, that's definitely hard to like.
yeah. But I agree with you in terms of the subject matter and I think the brevity of the series, where like it's kind of like really comedic and mostly and very like ridiculous, and it has some lighthearted, over the top moments. I don't think that is like what people think of when they think of like elitist series, but then again, like elitism is more of an attitude than like a genre of anime, despite the
Yeah,
meme 3x3.
yeah. I think it's like when a series is like, and not to like go into a whole other topic, but like in terms of that, I think it's like when a series is so like critically acclaimed and it's already like set this high bar for itself that everyone's saying like, you need to watch this, it's like peak or whatever. And then someone that like has no experience with it goes to watch it, already hearing all of that.
Yeah,
They can't get into it. They see this wall and they're like, okay, like this is clearly either I'm not meant for this or this is just pretentious or this is just elitist. Like there's like,
yeah,
this is overblown. So
yeah, that's 100% true. I think sometimes when people have like universal acclaim for a series, they almost kind of view it, someone going into it will kind of view that as like a challenge, and like, it either meets it or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then it feels like a massive disappointment, even if it's just, still really good, but not as good as everyone else claims. And I think
yeah,
Tatami is one of those series that people will kind of consider flawless, as in they don't find a flaw in it. Like there is no inherent like flaw in the writing, but as I think both of us have established on this podcast, going over many favorites and many series, that like we're not really keeping score of series in terms of like how many mess ups did they have versus like, we're not really keeping score of series that much. It's more of like how much we enjoy it and how much it impacts us. And I think we're both on the same page in terms of that.
yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. Like I feel like if I had to, I'll get into it in the end.
Yeah.
Like, because I do like I have feelings on Tatami as like a whole, like in terms
Yeah.
of like a numerical thing, but it doesn't matter because I still like really enjoyed it. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, let's just talk about it.
Yeah. So I guess for if someone you've made it this far somehow and you don't know what Tatami is about, I'll give like a quick summary. I don't know what that is.
Queek.
It quick. It's a so it's essentially, the way I think of it and describe it to others is it's essentially a Groundhog Day styled series, time loop series, where this one college freshman wants to have the perfect college life, or as he calls like the rose colored college life, and he keeps getting into these shenanigans no matter what club he joins. And the message is very obvious that like you need to appreciate what you currently have, and those experiences are kind of like the spice of life, but he still kind of like is trying to find the perfect experience no matter how many times he redoes his hypothetical college situation. So it's like essentially 10 episodes of him joining different clubs and trying to find perfection and happiness, and missing it every time, but he's blaming everyone around him instead of taking it in and realizing that like only he can really find like true appreciation for what's going on in his life.
Yeah, and it's really like as simple as that. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
the whole story. That's the whole message. That's kind of everything. But like it's kind of the way it's executed that makes it like really really cool. And as you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
going through the episode and sort of realizing the little details, it's like, oh, okay, the way they did that was like really nice.
Yeah.
But Groundhog's Day is a good way of putting it. I would just thought like, oh, it's like Endless Eight.
Yeah.
Like,
If you don't like it, it's Endless Eight. If you like it,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
Groundhog
actually, yeah,
Day.
yeah, better.
um,
Yeah, like I think some people thought it was repetitive, but like I thought it was all right. I liked like the different, like there was some middle episodes that I didn't hate, but they were like, I was just sort of getting over the hump because I was like, I had like a feeling like this is obviously leading to somewhere. There's like it's dropping hints. I don't know where it's going, but obviously the main character, the narrator, is like noticing like different things that are off and they're not connecting yet. And I think it's gonna get to a point where it's like gonna connect.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, so there was a couple episodes where I was like, okay, whatever, like, but I didn't like hate them. They were just, I never found it like boring. Like it was entertaining in its own way, kind of seeing the different paths and different hijinks. But yeah, but it really like, I think like my favorite arc. I think I like that arc, the only arc, the mini arc of like episode 6 to 8, where it's like essentially the same story but from a different angle of like if he had picked a different girl.
Yeah,
one of those girls is a doll, but
yeah, that one's pretty funny. I think the first time I kind of had like, so I have like two different experiences with this. But I can get into that later. But I remember the first time I watched it, I was definitely like, oh, we got Onimaru's volume is relatively lower, so
whoops, sorry guys.
Whoopsie. Get hype time.
Thank you for letting me know. Okay, hold on.
That's a good. Wow. That's a good. Thanks for letting us know now.
Is this better? Do I sound clear?
Yeah, that sounds better. Chat, please let us know
in the chat. As long as you can hear me, that's important.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll go from there. You guys let us know.
Yeah. So I watched it originally a couple of years back. And I also found some of the episodes like I understood that like repetitive was kind of the point, but I found like the individual adventures like some were more lackluster than others. But that one, I remember I was like getting bogged down where I was like, okay, we get it. This is getting a bit crazy. But when I rewatched it, I think I definitely appreciated the humor and ridiculous kind of absurdity of everything a lot more. So that made me appreciate everything more. Like, and especially that arc where you just get the whole scale of everything.
I got sounds a little better. Jeez, what's going on with my audio?
Got to get hyped up.
Okay. Let me speak more hype. But so like with that arc, like it wasn't like I was like, I don't know, like I was never really like laughing out loud at like a lot of the episodes, and the humor that was okay. It was more so what I liked about that arc is how it was revealing more information from each like angle with each episode that you didn't get in a previous episode. So you didn't get the full context for like, I don't know, the thing with like Jogasaki and like what he was doing until the next episode. You didn't get like the full context of like, or like in the third episode, Akashi like references how like in that like how she saved him, like how he saved her in the Hero Association like episode. Like I didn't think that was still gonna count, but that was still included. That was still part of his day. The only difference was he was picking a different girl each time. So I thought all of those little tidbits that expanded more on like what happened within, because you had like no context on like the first episode, like why is he like trying to get with 3 girls, what's going on, how did he land in this scenario, and then like as you get more through each episode, I found that really interesting. So
yeah, and I think it's interesting the way it progresses in terms of like you look at the beginning, he thinks that he just needs to join a club, then it's also like, okay, I need to join a different club, and then as we get to essentially episode 4 or 5, I think we all kind of realize, okay, the series is very clearly saying he needs to accept Akashi as, someone who's romantically interested in him, that he's interested in as well, and also kind of like go for it and finally like try and establish a relationship as symbolized by the toy thing that I constantly forget the name of.
Mochiguman or whatever.
The Mochigu, yeah. So I like that point is like really clear cut by like episode 3. Like we all know it. The fortune teller is essentially kind of telling him you need to reach out for the opportunity in front of you. She tells him every episode.
Literally dangling in front of him in the apartment. Yeah. Every episode, and you're like, bro, just fucking grab it. He's like,
you're like, do it. So he starts getting some awareness that I think like, oh yeah, I should be looking for a relationship with the women around me. But then of course he picks like fucking everyone except for her, even to the point where he's having an anonymous pen pal relationship with someone who turns out to be her. So it's like kind of like everything is kind of like closing in on him more and more over time, that it's like, it doesn't matter what club, it doesn't matter which like, what girl, like, it all comes to you and what you want and what you prioritize.
But I feel like that's what's so cool about it too.
Yeah.
Like as we're talking about it, it's like the choice could be like staring you right in the eye, but it's the anxiety of like making that choice that'll make you turn away from that choice. It could be like just like right there, like just spelled out. And like the realistic thing is like you're probably still not going to do it. Like,
Yeah.
It's just and that's
like,
the frustrating part. Like,
yeah, and
just
that's yeah, that's why it's like, oh my gosh, I get it though. Like, it's so interesting to see the way it kind of just progresses down. And the way I take it is it's like he's becoming more and more insane to the point where you get to like episode 10 is just like, he's like, I'm not going outside. It's the anti-Evangelion message. It's like, nope, the tatami is life.
Grass. Nope.
I'm no outside.
Tatami is anti-grass.
Anti-grass. The anti-grass life.
You don't have to mow it. It's always perfect. No, but like, okay, if we're jumping to episode 10 and 11,
I figure we can jump around.
Is amazing. Just
yeah.
It was so good. Because like, you know why it's so good? Like I thought like that was really cool when he like found the parallel dimensions in the other, you know, like in the other tatami rooms and like, you know, kind of seeing all the different possibilities. But then it was like when the episode ended and then the ending song played, it was like, it was right under my nose the entire time. The ending song pretty much was spelling out like this is exactly what he was going to be going through towards it at the end. I was like, that's such a cool detail.
I think my favorite individual episode of like his adventures is when he accidentally joins that like bee cult or whatever.
Oh, episode 2? No.
No, wait, that's around like
episode 9.
It might be 9. It might be 9.
Secret organization?
It's a secret organization, but I think it's more in the middle because well, there's actually a couple that I like more. So there's the one where he joined club. No, that's the second one. I'll get to that in a second.
The softball circle.
No, that's earlier. So this is I don't know. Yeah, this might be the one where he's just like in that club of beat, like the smiley face cult, where he's like ends up on the blimp with Uzo or whatever, Azu, and so like I'm gonna look it up. I'm looking up the episode.
It's the softball episode.
Is it the softball episode?
Yeah, it's okay. He joins the softball thing, which ends up being like a cult, and yes. He has to he falls in love with the president's like daughter or whatever, and then Azu
that's episode
like a blimp.
Yes, correct. You got it ahead of me. That's episode 5.
Yeah.
So he joins that, and at some point he breaks through the window of something and he sees a guy with a beard, and it's himself. And then you see that again, and you see that again later on, and it was like, okay, so it's all coming full circle.
I love that detail because as I was watching it and I wasn't like completely like engaged with some of the stories, I would see these little details like that, and I was just like, this is gonna come back later. And then when I saw it, I was like, I knew something's off here. Yeah. And I saw it come back later. I'm like, yes, okay, validated.
Yes, it's like
going on.
This is me.
And then he wouldn't even like help himself. Like when
he's
you
like,
see it from
no.
like at the time it was weird. Because it was like, okay, what the fuck? Like, it was really funny. He's like, what the fuck is this shit? Closes it. But then when you're on the other side, like in episode 10, and you see his isolation and his desperation, he's just trying to reach out to anyone. And this dude, his other self just shuts the window or the door, the tatami or whatever on him. It's just like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah, and you're like, damn, he won't even help himself, which is then like the entire point of the thing.
Yo.
And so I had this. My second favorite part is what you said before, where like episode 2, he's in the cycling club, and then the secret police takes his bike, and then by episode 9, he's in this secret police taking other people's bikes and shit. And I thought that was another really great way of them illustrating that like you can change whatever perspective you're on, but like you're still in the same like down bad, not recognizing how to better yourself situation. Like no matter what side you're on, you're getting screwed over by yourself.
Yeah. I think it was also, that episode where he also got like jacked. Like he started like training to like fly the glider.
Yeah.
He ended up like being too weighty to actually be able to fly it. And so it was like, he just overtrained. He flew too close to the sun.
Yeah.
They mentioned Icarus in that episode. I think it was that same episode. I don't know. But I did find it funny where like he just went all out for this freaking bike and then they just took it. And like his life was crushed.
Yeah,
Um,
and it always ends up being like ruining his shot with Akashi.
yeah.
What do you think of this? Did you ever theorize that Ozu was an imaginary friend who the MC created to justify his actions or lack thereof?
Hmm. No, I didn't. But I did always think there was something off with Ozu. Like his perception of
Yep.
him being like a devil, like was always just so like surreal. Like it made me
Yep.
question, like, okay, is this show supernatural or is it not? Like, is this
Yeah.
real what he's seeing? And then when you find out at the end, like, oh no, it's just his like his perception of him reflected in like, you know, kind of like distorting the reality of what you're seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was like a nice touch. Um yeah, like I don't know, like cuz but he did use Ozu, like not to go with, it doesn't really go with theory, but like he did blame everything on Ozu, like for his
Yeah.
lack of actions and lack of shifting his perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's interesting how he kind of blames Ozu for everything. And then the responses to everyone are also like, nah, this is like your fault for one being lame. Ozu was tons of fun. They were getting into tons of fun shenanigans. And he was just like not enjoying life and being lame. So it's like you're
Although
responsible for looking
Ozu
for
did
perfection.
like screw him over a lot, like completely double crossed him a lot.
But
How do
he
you
was
how do you read that? Like, do you think that that was just like in his mind it was like that, or was and it was like actually a harmless prank, or Ozu is just that type of dude?
well, I think that they're all kind of I think what we get from the end is Ozu is just taking advantage of his life and just going around having fun. Like they're joining all these clubs and they're both engaging in fun, and instead of looking for a perfect experience, Ozu is looking for an entertaining experience.
Yeah.
And MC is just so like caught up on his shit that he's like just being like lame and counterintuitive to like things that could make him feel live a fulfilling life.
Yeah, because he just wants again the rosy colored life, and that always like it comes back to it just fitting into the view he has of it instead of going for what's right in front of him, literally in
Yeah.
most cases. So, like, I really liked that message and how it all came together in the end, and it like you needed to see all of these repetitions and all of these like constant mistakes, and him kind of sort of getting what he wanted, but then not really, and seeing it's not what he wanted to
Yeah.
then finding out like, okay, like after now being completely isolated, he just needed to connect with other people. And like they brought that back. They drove that wow. They drove that point home too with the Costella cake when they were just like, this is meant to be shared. And he's
Yeah.
just like gorging on all of them, at the end, like in that episode 10, like where he's completely isolated.
Yeah. That was a great way of bringing that back, because I feel like they always have the Costella cake, right? Like he always ends up with
like,
that, and it's
like
like
in some episodes you'd see him like just eating it. And then it's like at the end there's just one in every room. Like in episode 10 there's like one in every room. So then he's just like grabbing all of them and just eating them because he has no other means of eating.
yeah.
So that was cool. It's all like the small little touches.
Yeah. I think the last episode is just so like such a ridiculously triumphant journey of seeing him like literally like break through everything to kind of go and like break through outside, and then he's just like running through a crowd of people, and you're like, I don't know, I feel like so triumphant with that, where you're like cheering him on. You're like, yes, get outside, do it.
Please go outside, you smell, shave.
Yeah.
It was so cathartic, like to even see him like do the role switch with Ozu and like offer him help or like want to like cuddle up with him.
Yeah, it was so funny. I love that, because then it's like Ozzy was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And he's like, "We're connected by the black string of fate."
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. We're evil together.
So the second time I ended up rewatching Tatami for like the first time in years in November 2020. So right after Ultimate Pandemic period, but still like kind of still in the pandemic.
This is such a perfect pandemic show.
Yeah, I'm
only because I watched this during the pandemic.
Yeah. So before the first time I watched Tatami Galaxy, I was always like, oh, this is like a really good show, but like I get the point. Like go outside, appreciate people, have opportunities, like take advantage of things of the opportunities around you. And I was like, I always kind of felt like I understood the whole grass is greener on the other side mindset. I always thought like I got it. I understood it. Then the pandemic hit and I'm stuck inside all the time. And I think it just built up over time. I'm like, wow, I really miss doing like literally anything, no matter how good or bad it was. It was just like, I literally miss being outside. So then I rewatched Tatami, and it just like hit on a completely different level. Like, I could appreciate everything. I appreciated the humor. I appreciated like the mindset of kind of like thinking you know better, but maybe not enough to like truly appreciate everything. And then at some point I decided to kind of do like a little project, since it was my second time watching. So I felt like, you know, I know what's going to happen, but like, I'm going to also just kind of pay attention to the color design. Cause like, as you can kind of tell from our background, like there's a ridiculously awesome use of color. So I ended up making, I took screenshots for each episode, and I tried to do like a 3x3 of like every different color used in the series. And I don't think Onimaru has seen this. I think other people might have seen this. I'll see if I can share it. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's see. I'm going to share. Let's see. Share screen. I'm going to just try and pull it up. Let's see if I can. See if this will work out well, or if it will just be like ridiculous.
So you made a mosaic, or okay?
Yeah, I ended up putting it together. So each, let me know if it's showing up.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. Does everyone else see it? Yeah. So this one is like I did, each one of these is like one from each episode. So this is episode 1. These are all like the purple colors from episode like 1 through 11, and then blue, light blue.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
So you literally, they used all of these colors repeatedly in each episode.
Yeah, so the only shortcut I did, because I wanted to keep it to 9 spots, and since there's 11 episodes total, like, you know, the like episode 3, like the 3 episode arc, I kind of used that in the same spot. But these are pretty much like, they pretty much used one of each of these colors from purple, pink, well, purple, no pink on purpose. This is kind of light purple, red through green. One of these was in every episode.
Okay.
So
yeah, I didn't think they were using the same colors, but that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so just like ridiculous. Like this whole thing, this was really fun to put together, but it was also just like, this is one of the only shows I could do something like this for, because so many other shows do not have this wide array of color.
Yeah, and that's so cool too, because it drives home also the repetitiveness of each episode, that it's like the same, you know, kind of thing. So you're going to see the same colors.
That, and because the overall theme of the show is that, you know, he wants the rose-colored, you know, he wants that rose-colored college experience, and there's no rose-colored experience.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that like doing this also helped me appreciate that, like, you know, the color design actively plays into the themes of the show. So I was so I put that together, and I was having so much fun. And then I had like a true galaxy brain moment, in the most literal sense, because it's Tatami Galaxy. And I thought about how the title Tatami Galaxy represents that like we all get trapped in complacency in our own little world, or like our own like tatami boxes, and that without appreciating others and opportunities, they won't be colorful. Like we'll all be stuck in that like white space the MC was in. So just the use of colors and how other people contribute to coloring our own experiences made me like, you know, galaxy brain enough to be like, you know what, this is a 10. So
yeah, no, like
it's a 10.
Really good way of putting it, because like it was like, I definitely loved the art style from the beginning. It was very creative, very visually like mesmerizing, which like makes it really stand out. Like both like the simple art style mixed, which is like conducive to all the different colors that are being used. Like it just looked very different. And then it was cool where like you were saying in episode 10, like when he's in isolation, they just took away all that color. And it was only like when he was starting to reach out again that like the color was starting to come back into his life. So that was like really cool. And now that you pointed out this way that there was no rosy color, I'm like, okay, that's like, again, like the little details that make it like even better.
I remembered because I think it came up when I Googled it. I think they did use rose colored a couple times, and it was during the episodes when he was with Akashi. So it was only when he was with her that,
so
as another.
Like, there you go. That's your rose colored campus life, and he's just not grabbing onto it.
Yeah, and I think it's like it was really cool to kind of like do this, I guess, little personal experiment that I like put on myself just because I felt like it and wanted to give it a shot. But it was one of the ways that I really saw how the visual design, the visual decisions, like the art design and the color design was used to reinforce the themes of the series and the like specific dialogue that conveyed those themes. And I know a lot of times like there's kind of a disconnect between like visuals and like the content of the series in some ways, where sometimes people will say like, you know, it's all style, no substance, or it's all substance, no style. You get like both arguments. But this is one of those times when the style is the substance and like they are actively connected to each other. So
you have to pay attention to the style in order to get the substance. I get that. Because like that's the cool thing I think about Yuasa, bringing it back to him, that I feel like he's using like the actual medium to create. Like he's tapping into the different parts of the medium to create that substance.
Yeah, and that really shows like his strength as a director, because I know that his art style is definitely not for everyone, and you know, as we experienced at the first episode, his speed is definitely not for everyone. No. But I think you know, putting all the elements together, it's a once in a lifetime experience that only he could have done.
Yeah, no, I think it worked really well. And like one of the details that, you know, I guess like I wasn't paying like super careful attention as I thought. Like I didn't get by the end like why there were all these moths, you know, like that popped out when he finally like freed himself. And then I had to like, one, think about it, two, look some stuff up because, you know, help myself out. And it was like, once I like, when we're talking about like realizing these little details making the experience better, when I realized like the moths, you know, they're pitiful creatures and they represent like that like singular moth that was like in his room like, every time in every like tatami room. And then like, and that like moths always go like, they're always like drawn to the light, even if it's an artificial light. And even if it means like their death, like kind of like Icarus getting too close to the sun and like dying. So like by the end, when he's finally set free, all these moths that were in all the tatami rooms are finally also like set free. They burst free because he's finally going towards like real opportunity, towards like the true light, which is Akashi.
Oh, that's cool.
And also, that's why like Akashi hates moths. They're attracted to her. They keep coming to her because she's like that opportunity, that light that's like dangling in front of him.
That's a cool way of looking at it. I love that, because I thought it was just funny because like she also was afraid of them, but that makes sense that they have that connection.
Yeah, I was just like, why did they keep bringing up moths? Why did moths show up at the end? She hates moths. Like I was rewatching, like what does this all have to do with each other? And then like again throughout the whole thing, there's all these like road signs pointing to him in the direction of here's opportunity, but you just keep not going to it. Like even the fortune teller lady is like, hey, like you got to go this way, you know. And he's like, you know, wishy-washy. But that's kind of like us. Like that's why he like people, like because he doesn't have an actual name because he's like really
Watashi means I.
Supposed to be like a self-insert for you know, kind of us, because we all kind of have like regrets and like we all like wish we could have done whatever thing better and having a better conclusion. But then like that message at the end, which is like, hey man, like if you keep trying to look for like the perfect ideal way, that's not real life. It doesn't fit into that. So you're going to be looking forever, or you're going to be trapped in your narrow idea of it instead of broadening your horizons and taking what you already have and running with it and making it great. So that was like a really cool message.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's why it's a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
You know, that's better than I gave it the first time around. So I can't blame you. You had more to say than I did. First time I was like, yeah, I get it. Now I'm like, no, I get it.
No, like I really liked it. It really came together at the end. Just like minor like nitpicks for me that kind of held it back. Like it just didn't feel like a 10, but like the ending alone felt like a 10. Like that was just like great.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It felt like a fulfilling experience.
Yeah. I mean, I did want to see a little bit more of like him and Akashi's romance, like at the end, because they just got together. But like I know like that's not the point, even though they built it up to be like, oh, okay, this is gonna be the point, but it's not really the point, you know.
Yeah.
The point is that he leaped for it, and that was it.
Yeah. So. Well, the good news is they're coming out with a Tatami Galaxy sequel.
Whoa.
Did you hear about that? Or
I heard about it, but I didn't look into the details. Do you have the details?
The only details I know are that I think it's is that it's a different director. It's I have to look up the name, but it's the director of Sunny Boy, who also did Mob Psycho 100. So it's not Yuasa. It is Shingo Natsume, who is also very talented in his own right. So definitely not a step down by any means. And let me look up what it's called, because I know that there's time travel involved, but I don't know the details. It's called Yohuan Time Machine Blues, and it will be coming out this September.
Whoa, that's like real quick. It's like I just caught up to something. It's like, oh, it's coming out.
Yep.
Sequel's
Thank you,
out.
chat. Thank you guys. You got me with the name, even when my Googling has failed. So it's Science Saru, which is the Yuasa studio that I think he founded, but is like, he's taking a break currently. I think that's what I've heard. So he's kind of chilling. He's been working hard the past couple of years. Everyone in the anime industry works hard, but I know he's been pumping out stuff. So I think he's like, yo guys, I'm chilling for a bit. But I think Shingo Natsume will do a great job. But it's one of those series that doesn't really need a sequel. But if the sequel is going to be kind of like not really connected, but something different with the same characters, I'm 100% down.
Yeah, like I'm down. I'm down to see like where they take it. Because again, like you said, like I don't know where it would go in terms of a sequel, but maybe it's like a spiritual successor, sort of.
Yeah, I know it's the same book. It's the same author wrote the book that's going to be adapted, and they also wrote Night is Short, Walk On Girl, which if you guys want to hear us talk about it, we can talk about that in the next part of Yuasa Digest. Yeah, we can talk about that one next time, but yeah, we can add that to the list.
Yeah, because that one was like mentioned like a few times in like Tatami Galaxy. So when I found out there was like a movie for, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like,
yeah, they made it. They made a book from the.
They made a movie from the book in the show.
Yeah.
But I had a good time with it. It wasn't the first. So I watched Ping Pong first, then I watched Tatami Galaxy because I was like, okay, I want to see like what this is all about. But I was surprised. I had a really good time. It was good. I didn't find it pretentious. I found the message to be like really cool. But now, are you ready to talk about Ping Pong the animation?
So I also watched Ping Pong before Tatami, like a couple years beforehand. So I have been ready.
Okay. Yeah, it's like one of your like top 10, right? It's top 10.
It's top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Go up? Or maybe no, I'm just misremembering your list. Okay, top 5.
It's been top 5 for like a while. I have very fond memories of watching it. So I had my anime senpai recommend me kind of a bunch of I want to call it snob anime, but I know people take that the wrong way.
He gave you the elitist starter pack. He's like, here, if you want to be cultured, you watch this. Listen, we all have that friend.
Yeah, and I had it like, so for context, like, so I started watching like more anime, like getting more seriously, like my senior year of college, and I have this really fond memory of being stuck kind of at school, like in college, and it was like the last week of winter break, because I guess for people who aren't in the US, we kind of get in college we get like really long winter breaks. We get like a month and a half. At least my school did. So I had like a month and a half off between like December to like mid-January. And at some point senior year, I had an internship at schools, and so I was just like at the apartment by myself, and like we had to move mid-year, so we had to get internet and TV hooked up, but there was like a couple days in between. So it was kind of like, in theory, it was kind of miserable because it's just me by myself in our apartment, no TV and internet, but I had my phone and I had a data plan. So I just watched tons of shows and ran up my phone bill, which I would not recommend to anyone. So in this period, I watched like Madoka, Sword Art Online, No Game, No Life, and Toradora all within this week. Because there was like nothing going on, and it was like a part-time internship. So I rest in peace to my mom's phone bill that year, but like that kind of got me into it. So I was like on that couch. Eventually, when I got back to having internet, I was like on that couch, and it would be like my anime watching couch in our college apartment. And my friend was like, "Yo, you should watch Ping Pong. It's only 11 episodes." And I was like, "Okay, bet." And then I sat down after class and I watched it in like one night.
So wait, so those first four that you mentioned, was that like how you entered anime, or you had already watched
No,
anime at that point? Okay.
that was like when I was in the that was kind of in the mix. That was probably in like the 20s of like I'd seen 20 anime. I was like in the
Why
anime
did
watching,
why did
but
you decide on those four though? Like what
I think I was
like
on like Crunchyroll and they were
okay,
all
you were just
like
like, I just need to
recommended.
watch something.
Yeah,
Let me just
they
okay.
were. I think the real reason, besides being Crunchyroll and accessible, uh was they had done well in one of the Reddit Best Girl contests. Like they each had one girl do really well, so I was curious to see if they were actually deserving. So then I checked them out and just watched them all within like the same week, which is wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
I guess before I get into it, some tea. Apparently, Yuasa was annoyed that Yamada was making Hike at the same time as Inoue, which is
which one's that?
Inuo. That's his new movie.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
But I'm gonna have to look into that.
Why would he be annoyed? Did she like work with him?
She's working
Like,
at Star and Science Saru, so
oh,
maybe
okay. I get it. No,
I don't
I get
know.
you now.
That's
Has
kind
he
of I gotta look
has
into that.
has he always been with Science Hour? He has, right?
I
Like
think he
most
kind
of
of
the time.
founded it, so I think
Oh, okay.
I
Makes
gotta look
sense.
into that. The lead
Hmm.
starter pack hits different. Yeah, this was like me getting into me kind of picking up a recommendation and then getting into some elitist stuff without knowing it was elitist at the time.
Yeah.
Also, older comment. I have seen Kaiba. If you guys want us to talk about Kaiba, we can bully Onimaru into Kaiba and watch that next
Well,
time.
don't we have to for part two?
Yeah. So
Well, I have to essentially.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
good.
So let us know if
Yeah,
that is
just give me
bully
the full list.
the full bully list.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I watched Ping Pong in a night, which is why I recommend people can watch Ping Pong in a night because I watched it in a night. It's like
I was deathly sick, so I spread ping pong out over like 5 days. Like I was dying on an airplane. I'm like, I need to watch one more episode.
one
And then
more.
yeah,
So I'm interested since I heard about the trials and tribulations you went through while watching Ping Pong.
yeah.
I'm excited to hear what you thought of Ping Pong as someone who just kind of has like heard about it and got bullied by your younger cousin into watching it and watched it while dying. So
Yeah, I mean, like, and I think you're definitely. I feel like you should ask all the questions you want because you've been ready for years.
I've
I'm the
been
one that
ready
just. You're
for
like
this moment.
you're a veteran. I just joined the party. I'm like, oh hey, I just watched ping pong. What's up, guys? Hey, and we're like, we've been knowing how good it is. I'm like, okay.
No, there's no rush.
I had a great time. I like blown away. Like totally lived up to the hype. Like that's just it was so good. And I didn't expect it to be that good. I was just like, like the common complaints about it, like, hey, the animation on this does not look dope. Like the opposite of dope. This does not look good. And like I don't think I can get over that and watch this. And that just became like a non-issue in like an episode. Like it was just like, okay, I don't care about that. Like someone was mentioning it to me later. Like I was like, hey, you should watch ping pong. I'm like, and they were like, oh, the animation, I can't get into it. Like, no, you'll be fine. It's not that bad. It's not that
I
bad.
feel like that's like the calm intimidation. Now you'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be all right. You'll be fine. But yeah, like that's the overall broad strokes. I had a really good time with it. I thought it was like really cool. Like I even started actually appreciating the like to jump around a bit. I did start appreciating the animation at some point too because like I felt like it was conducive to like so much to capturing like the raw emotion and intensity of like a lot of the scenes and a lot of like the characters like thoughts and like what like they were like really feeling in terms of the sport and like it all just felt like really dynamic and it got you like hyped and into the moment. Like I love how the show like would like play with like these flashbacks but also like the visualizations in their head and also like while also showing it in the ping pong match. It was all like really cool. So that like definitely made all the matches feel more dynamic. I really liked Kong. He was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like even though like his story wasn't front and center, it was just kind of developing on the side, but it's just like it was so interesting. Like he just looked like he was like kind of like an asshole that was like arrogant about like himself like in the beginning, and then he just got like humbled like so like completely over and over throughout. But like he came in and he was just like so cool. Like they gave him like the little montage with the sunglasses and his whole backstory, and then he would just keep getting like crushed. but then like over time he just found like by like connecting with others and like learning to be a mentor, like he found his own reason for like wanting to get back at into ping pong, which
Yeah.
wasn't just being better than others, but just like finding like your own way to be good. And I just like that whole commentary on like hard work versus talent versus people that had talent but didn't put in the work versus people who had no talent at all versus people that had talent, had the hard work, but hated the sport. You know, so it just like took all the angles and it just made it like very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I had to shout out Vidumaji with the ping pong greatest ever with the ping pong avatar. I think it's so that's a comment we got. So I had to shout out ping pong cohesiveness, but I couldn't agree more. I think hard work versus talent is probably the most consistently compelling theme, which is probably why I'm such a sports anime fan, is because like they do it every time. Every time they have a sport, they have a hard work versus talent versus like passionate about the game versus not passionate. They do it every time.
Yeah.
And it always hits. I have no talent and I have no hard work, but I love seeing both. I love it. I'm just like so excited every time. And
I feel like because it's like such a like question I feel like we all have, and there's no clear answer, and it's always like, is it talent, is it hard work, like if I work hard will I get it, what if I don't have the talent? And it's just like, you know, but what if I have both, you know, and I still can't reach it, you know?
What if I have nothing? I think it was such an eye-opening experience too, because this was actually my first sports anime, so
yeah, this is like pre-Haikyuu.
There was a time before pre-Haikyuu, which is also just really funny because I watched ping pong and I had the whole like, I don't know if I want to watch a show about people playing ping pong, watched it, loved it, whatever. And then when people were trying to sell me on Haikyuu, I made the same stupid mistake of being like, well, I don't know if I want to watch a show about volleyball. And then I watched it and loved it again. So
Shaw, your first mistake is thinking it's about ping pong.
Yeah, true.
It's not about ping pong. It's about life.
That's true.
That's literally what my cousin like looked at me and just told me. I'm like, really?
And the fucked up part is I love ping pong. At the time in college, I was playing ping pong with friends a lot. So like it could not be more hypocritical.
Well, that's more in your defense. That's more of a touch grass moment, which is just more like, hey, I'd rather play the actual thing and have fun playing it and experiencing it with friends than watch people play it, you know?
I almost went full cringe. I think it's cringe or it could be hype. Chat, let us know, actually. I want everyone's input on this. How do you feel about playing ping pong against someone with the ping pong soundtrack?
In public?
Well, not in public, no. At home with a ping pong table with your friends.
I think that's hype.
Okay, because like I think it would be like my enter the hero moment. I would be like, yes, I am a professional ping pong player.
If I was boxing, I'd play like Hajime no Ippo music. So actually, like I was working out earlier and I literally played the opening from Hajime no Ippo at the gym.
Okay.
So that's not awesome. In my headphones, like on blast.
Muscard has done that in public, so my new goat. Thank you. There you go. Yeah, I was playing because there's a period. It was like a couple years ago when my husband, who was he wasn't even my fiance yet. It's when they had moved and they had this like really awesome basement area, and they had this perfect spot for a ping pong table where you could like have enough room to play, and there was kind of like a mini wall so people could watch. So it would be like me and him would play ping pong against each other all the time, and then like his brother would kind of join in too, and his brother was like a D2 athlete and had amazing hand-eye coordination. So he would kind of be like the dragon of like he'd be like the final boss. And I had played tennis, so I kind of have like semi ping pong skills, but like not really. And then my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he just has like really good hand-eye coordination. So we were kind of like the different levels of strength playing ping pong. And I was very close at almost every time to putting ping pong on as like the soundtrack.
God. You should have.
So,
like that could have been like your MC music, like in the final moment where you're like, I need this final push to defeat you.
Yeah, I don't think I actually beat his brother, but I got very close many times. I had a hero moment. But awesome. Speaking of MC moment, and humbling, I think what still surprises me when I think back to watching ping pong is it has probably one of the like most gripping first episodes I've seen, but in my head I never think of it as like one of the best first episodes because it's such a seamless experience. But in the first episode, they do such a great job of establishing Smile or Robot, however they put it, like Smile. It's kind of like a robot who just kind of goes along. They didn't establish the robot stuff. Smile is just very unenthusiastic, and he just kind of goes along with what Pico says. Pico is considered a hotshot, but he's also kind of a fuckboy who's just like dicking around with ping pong.
He doesn't take it too seriously. Yeah.
He doesn't take it seriously, and he takes winning for granted. And they introduce
and then Kong is super serious.
Super serious. He's shit talking everyone in Chinese, and they're like, "What the fuck's going on?" And
winning is everything to him.
He would say ball is life. Ball is life. And he easily takes down Pico, and he correctly interprets that Smile is letting Pico win, which is really interesting. So you get this like fundamental establishment of three of the main characters, like one episode. Kind of get it.
Like he rocks their world and like sort of forces them into like the higher level of the sport. Like him like showing him like this is how we play. And so like Smile reluctantly is like called out for like being too good and not showing it and not having drive. Pico is just put in his place for being, like you said, a fuckboy. So, and then the dynamic between them is now like possibly going to be awkward now because it's like, hey, are you like letting me win? Like what's going on?
Yeah. And what's interesting is like the way that they very somewhat subtly, but just very definitively show that the people who are very good at ping pong can tell that Smile is also very good at ping pong, but the people who are more amateurish at ping pong just think that Pico is the best because he's so flashy and wins. But everyone else is kind of like, wait a minute, what's that guy have? That guy has the sauce. What's going on with him? And I think that's a cool way of showing the different levels of like, nah, this guy is one to watch. This guy, kind of whatever, he's just being goofy. And so the way it goes is it's almost like Smile becomes more of the main focus when Butterfly Joe, what a great name for a coach, like their school's coach is like, okay, fuck these kids. I'm spending all my time developing this talent. And Pico doesn't know how to take it. He's like, yeah, Smile's good, but like I had no idea it was like this good. And Pico goes through like a whole like mental breakdown arc in the most high school way possible. Like he starts eating snacks, he gets lazy, he just gets like he gets drunk and like almost drowns, which is like really funny actually. Like looking back on it, it's like you ever lose a ping pong game and then almost drowns. Like
he starts like playing video games, just starts like not caring. Although now that you reminded me of drowning or the beach or whatever, like I remember that other character that like got beat in the one match and then
Kazuma?
Just like
Kazuma?
What was that? No,
Kazuma,
like the one like
side
character.
Yeah.
And it just in the background keeps showing you his journey as he's going across the world. He's completely tanned. He's selling things on the beach, like snacks or something. Everything he's doing, he's failing at, and he gets eventually just brought back to ping pong. It's like his true love all along.
Yeah, which is really fun and whimsical. Like that dude is just going through life, and he's like, "Yep, we're back to ping pong," which is funny. And so I like like Pico is just like so dramatically going through this arc, but but then he ends up kind of, I think like kind of finding his roots and going back and being like, okay, he's going back to I forget her name, so I just call her like the Obasan, like where the grandma. He goes back to basics and he's like, nah, I'm going back to like, you know, working hard and like truly trying to be the winner that I know I am.
Yeah.
And I think so the most compelling part of the series to me was like seeing the way he and Smile's friendship like fed off of each other. And, you know, Smile was not actually having fun just being good at ping pong by himself because he loves playing against Pico when Pico is playing at his best. Like those are the childhood memories that he's so fond of. And when you find out that he's actually called Smile, not in like this sarcastic way because he's such a robot that he doesn't smile, but because he genuinely smiles when playing ping pong. It was just such a beautiful like friendship character moment that was like, I think that was pretty much explored in episode 11, like in the last episode. And I was like,
that's what I love about the show. And at least for these past two shows, Yuasa's directing, it's like it gave you a little bit of information at a time, but
Mm-hmm.
it kept out big pieces the
Mm-hmm.
whole time as you went through, and you were like, okay, I kind of get like what's kind of going on. There's something with a hero that keeps showing up. There's something with Pico, but you don't really know. You can't put your finger on it. And then by the end, like they give you that piece of information that was missing, and everything just comes together, and
Yeah.
it's just so good.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I really like. That gradual like reveal. And while you're doing that, it's not like you're just waiting and doing nothing.
Mm-mm.
You're exploring the other characters. You're getting more commentary on the other sides of like ping pong and other players' relationships to it, which kind of help like really like uh accentuate like the dynamic between Pico and Smile, because like the other focuses was like, oh, well, why do they play ping pong? And now it comes together as like, well, this is why Smile plays ping pong, and it's really to connect with his friend. And Pico played ping pong because he had fun with it. And then by the end, doubles down on, Pico should play in the way that's unique to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so like he gets really good again, but it's like in the way that only he would play, which is like just spontaneous, just fun, kind of unpredictable. And
Yeah.
and I actually really like the commentary for Pekko or Pico, like along the line when he was like having his breakdown and like wondering like why he wasn't good, how Smile got so good, and all of that. And it was just such a common like relatable thing. Like he had the talent all along, but he used that talent to coast by. Like
Mm-hmm.
just he was just coasting on just having the talent and being good, and never like working to keep that or take that to the next level. And
Yeah.
because he didn't put in the work, he just never got to see that he himself wasn't staying good. Like other people could notice, but he didn't notice. Only Smile did, but he prioritized his friend, not, he wasn't gonna break it to him. So he just wanted to play with him.
Yeah. I think that whole the way different ways people look at ping pong, and then it's such a relatable thing of like you're talented enough that you kind of coast, but then like you don't kick it up to that next level because you haven't been pushed enough. So it makes sense that his like entire downfall over like kind of whining that he wasn't good enough to being inspired to work hard to be good enough was really cool to see.
Because it also comes to the question too. It's like, do you want to take it to the next level? Because like you only take it to the next level if it's something you really want.
Yeah.
So then that question came at the end too, which is like, if it's something you really want, then take it to the next level. If you don't care about it, then stay at the level that you're at. And
Yeah.
Pekko or Pico had to realize that by the end that like, this is what I want, and I do
Yeah.
want to play competitively. I want to be good. So
Yeah.
that's why at the end he's like one of the only ones that's still playing it like
Yeah.
professionally, and like Smile is like not doing it professionally. The other guy's like out because it was just to Kazuma the dragon, like it was like oppressive to him.
Isn't that interesting to see that he was really good and he had the talent, but I love that kind of sense of like overwhelming, crippling anxiety that like
Yeah.
everyone's like cheering him on, calling him the dragon, and he's hiding in the bathroom because
Yeah.
he's like he can't deal with it. That was
It's
like
like
such a powerful scene.
yeah, like it was like the pressure of like, because he's like it's all came down to the reasons, like why are you doing this? And his reason was just legacy. It's like, I'm just carrying on my back, my whole team, the legacy, but I'm not actually enjoying the sport.
Yeah. I think that his interaction with Sakuma, who was like their friend who's not good but like worked really hard. He's the work hard character of like
Yeah.
the series. Like their conversation where like once Sakuma kind of realized like I suck at this and I'm not gonna get much better, or like I'm only this good,
Yeah,
and then he
'cause
kind of like
had
let it
no
go.
talent whatsoever. Yeah.
What? Yeah,
'Cause
no
Akuma
talent.
had like no talent. Like, it was
Yeah,
just
but
pure hard work.
yeah, and he kind of had like this vendetta against like Smile and Pico because they like you kind of left him behind, and he gets to that point, and then once he kind of realizes that like I don't have talent for this, and this is not for like I will not get better, he almost feels like a weight is lifted, and he's able to help Kazuma the dragon because he's like, I've seen this on the other side, but like I would also kill for the talent you have, but you're not enjoying this. Like, what's going on, kind of thing.
Yeah. I actually really liked that conversation with him. Actually, didn't he give that conversation also to Pico?
Yeah, I think he kind of beat Pico, and then he's the one who saved Pico from drowning. That's just like still the funniest
Yeah,
scene.
and he was
He
like
saved
yelling
him.
at him that he's like wasting his talent or
Yeah,
whatever. And so like, yeah, I loved when he came in those moments to be like, "Hey, listen, I'm like out of this, out of the game, but like you clearly have the talent, use it. Like, what are
yeah,
you doing?"
yeah. Like,
So,
fuck is wrong with all you guys? Like, I want to be as talented, and I could use it, and you guys are just sticking around and like, being too hard on yourself and or drowning. Like,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like seeing, yeah, he really did not take losing very well. That's why Smile let him win, Pico.
yeah,
He didn't
that's
take
what
it well.
it's so dramatic, but so funny that like
Yeah.
he literally got like drunk on Christmas and almost drowned because he lost a ping pong game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's like that's Smile was like, yeah, this is why I couldn't let you
yeah,
lose.
yeah,
Um
carrying your mental stability on my back. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Um but like, and that was also a nice touch too that like we were talking about Akuma that when he let go, he was totally like a happier guy. He let his hair grow out. He was with his girlfriend. He was still kind of around, but he was like clearly not being weighed down. And his team still cared about him. Like they like
yeah,
at the end, they're like still reaching out to him, like welcoming him. It's not like, oh, you don't play ping pong anymore. Bye. It's like, they were just still like he was still one of them. So that was pretty cool.
yeah.
Um,
That's an interesting dynamic too. That is a bit more subtle than the like very overt character explorations. Is how, specifically with I always call him China because I call them all by their nicknames, which might not
yeah.
be. I always call them. So that's calling like he's China. He starts off with like his huge level of disdain for his teammate and for like just the Japanese skill of ping pong because he comes from China and they're like the OGs of ping pong. As someone in chat mentioned, who would win, Forrest Gump versus Pico? Forrest Gump, he goes to China to beat them at ping pong, so we know that they have the legacy of ping pong. So it's kind of like an insult that he has to go here to get good. So towards he has that hostility towards his teammates. But then you see as it goes on, he ends up kind of mentoring his teammates. And in the Christmas Eve episode, where they have one of the best like montages I've seen, they show like what everyone is doing on Christmas Eve, and he's going out and singing karaoke with his teammates and like having a great time with them, which is like the exact opposite of what's going on with um, Butterfly Joe and Smile, where Butterfly Joe, the coach of Pico and Smile's team, he has completely neglected everyone on the team who is in Smile. Like every other ping pong player, he's just kind of like, fuck you guys, I'm only taking care of Smile. And
Yeah.
they all kind of resent them for that because like, they're just like a high school team. And he's just like, no, he's like, nope, going for the most talented one. So it kind of shines a light too on like, the negative side effects of like that favoritism and harboring talent, which I thought was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it is cool. I didn't like look into that one too much, but yeah, that was clearly there. He was clearly ignoring the rest of the team because it was like, well, you don't have the talent for it, and whatever, you're not going to be competitive. So he didn't, just kind of ignored them.
Yeah. And he made that
But
decision on his own. It wasn't even like a Pico situation where like Pico's kind of being a bitch and going off. Like everyone else on the team was very enthusiastic. They all wanted to play. They all had that desire to win, but their coach just kind of abandoned them for Smile.
yeah, but also like I think he was just purposely pushing Smile since he knew
Yeah.
that like Smile wasn't like he did abandon them. Like that fact is
Yeah.
undeniable. But like he still really was invested in like pushing Smile harder because Smile just lacked any and all drive. And then that's when the whole robot thing really started coming into play because that started being like his playing style, like emotionless, cutthroat. But then I found like an interesting thing between them when they revealed that the coach let his friend win, which is the current like headmaster of Kazuma's school or whatever it's called,
Mm-hmm.
and he like got all famous for letting him win. Like the parallels that they drew that Butterfly Joe's friend had a busted knee,
Yeah.
and he couldn't do that to his friend, like ruin his career. So that's why he let him win. So then he asked Smile, would you be able to do the same thing to your friend? And then Q last episode, Pico has a busted knee, and I don't think Smile holds back. It's like I want to play him at his best, and that's what he would want.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah. That's probably the only besides the aesthetic complaints, that's probably the only story complaint I've seen for ping pong is they're like, okay, how did Pico win with a busted knee? Like how do you tangibly win with that? But he's the hero. The hero enters. So
Hero Kenzan.
Hirogen-san. And then I have to say, so this has one of like my favorite soundtracks and like sound designs, like period. I think Kensuke Ushio, one of the goats, the all-time best, just like amazing. He does such an amazing job of creating the perfect sounds for everything. And like one of the sound design moments that I love the most is they have Smile kind of going full robot, and they make like mechanical noises every time he like hits the ball. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. This is getting really cool.
Yeah, when it comes to sound design, I'm very basic, so I don't have a lot of commentary on this. I did enjoy the sounds that I heard. But I do remember Kensuke Ushio from his Devilman Crybaby soundtrack, which I did actually like spend the time listening to, and that was really good. So I believe it.
Yeah, and I remember at one point, so my favorite track is like technically 2 tracks put together. So you can listen to this later because we might get, I don't think we'll get copyright strike. They can't copy strike Ping Pong or that Heroes appear. But listen
they
to
can, but we'll say they can't.
They can. They can, but we want to pretend they can. Listen to Ping Pong Phase 1 and 2, where they use the sound of hitting a ping pong ball as a percussion instrument. Like, whoa. I hear that, and then I was just like, yes, this is it. This is the peak fiction all along. So it's an amazing soundtrack. I would recommend listening to it under any circumstance, whatever. So fantastic soundtrack, top 3 of all time. And I think the soundtrack really does like make the experience too. So I think it's just definitely next level.
Yeah. I will listen to it some more.
I will badger you with the tracks to listen to. So.
I was just so focused on the story.
You're like, hey, that color design thing we were talking about like an hour ago. I had to focus, but
I had to focus.
I'm a soundtrack merchant, so it happens.
Yeah, I've never been one, but I get it. I'm appreciating it more. Actually, before we move on, what's your? I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to bring up about Ping Pong, but what's your take on the ending, or like just like how you thought about like how the show wrapped up?
I think it's a perfect ending. I think, as you kind of said, you put it really well that you're like, it shows where everyone is at their current place in life with Ping Pong. Like Kong is playing on the Japanese team, playing professionally on the Japanese team, which is really cool. Pico has gone professional. Smile is coaching. And I think Kazuma is like kind of playing like not playing professionally, or like he's not fully reaching those heights.
He's like kicked off the team or something.
Yeah. He just got kicked off the team, and he goes to like Smile, and he's like, why aren't you playing like as hard as everyone? And
China made it onto the team.
And he made the team. So I think it makes sense. And I think it's a cool way of showing that the final match, the outcome of the final match, I think they showed that Pico won, but like I like how they transitioned it into where we're currently at.
Yeah. Did you also think it was a cool touch that like all the old people saw each other again at the end, and like you thought like Butterfly Joe would have like a grudge against the headmaster guy, and then they all just looked at each other and they just like laughed and picked up like right where they left off when they were like young?
Yeah, I love that. I love how they've had those like friendships like from beginning to end, and like how they're just kind of like continuing on.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Kimura sound design. Some of the best in anime and ping pong. How the ping pong ball sounds are in tune with the storyboards with the appearing panels during the matches is so good. I agree.
Really got to look into this, guys. One of my favorite episodes, actually, that I always remember from Shirobako is the episode where the sound guys are showing like how they come up with these SFX sounds, and like it's like literally like them like stepping their feet in a puddle or like doing like whatever mundane thing to get like some cool sound. I was like, yo, that's so cool.
That is really cool. I always find it interesting, like how do they do certain things? Like how do they make the sound for certain things?
Yeah.
So chat was saying, don't they know it's illegal to talk about Yuasa without mentioning Kaiba? So I will just reveal that this is part 1 of 2 on the Yuasa digest. So Kaiba will be top of the list for part 2.
Yeah.
But I have seen Kaiba.
I didn't know it was illegal. So
you are breaking law. But I have seen Kaiba.
I did hear that sorry for cutting you off. That
no.
he was known for Kaiba before he even did the 2 shows that we were talking about. So
Yeah, I think Kaiba was I think that was 2008. Correct me if I'm wrong.
that's a chat question.
I will correct me if I'm wrong. Kaiba,
I think it was
2008. Let's go. Let's go.
You got it.
Yeah, so Kaiba is also really great. I have a lot to say on Kaiba. So please add that to the list of bullying that we can do.
Yeah, we got. I don't know. I think I have like 8 shows to watch.
A lot of them are 7 movies. Most of them are movies.
Okay, thank God.
Because I think so. Here's what I have seen from Yuasa for full transparency from everyone. I have seen Tatami Ping Pong. I've seen Kaiba, Kimono Zume, Devilman Crybaby, Night is Short, Walk On Girl, Mind Game, Lou Over the Wall, and I think that and Azukin.
Okay.
I think I might have seen more. I might have seen what else is on the list. I'm gonna look, but I have seen all of those. I saw just 2 episodes of Japan Sinks, and then I Sunk from.
Do we have to talk about Japan Sinks?
I don't think so. I don't want to. Okay. I don't want to. Okay, I don't have much to say. But what I do have to say, I don't want to say.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, because I feel like unless you really want us to talk about Devilman Crybaby now, we're gonna push this off to the next part.
We'll have a lot to talk about in that next part.
Yeah, it'll be 3 hours long.
Okay, I will rewatch Mind Game for the sake of this discussion, because the first time I watched Mind Game, I did not have kind things to say about it.
What does this mean? Like, we should talk about Mind Game as long as it's just me? Like,
because that means there's a good chance of just saying nice things about it. Because I wouldn't say, I didn't have as many.
You have bad things to say. Okay.
But I mean, I'm down yet.
All right, I'll be. You can be bad cop. I'll try to be open minded. Or maybe it might not work. Maybe I'll still say bad things.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't mind talking about Devilman Crybaby unless you want to kick that to next time. It's up to you.
Kinda want to kick it. I don't know, unless you have like.
I think we don't have too much. I think both of us don't have too much to say on it.
All right, first things first. Ping Pong, 10 out of 10.
You gave it the 10. I was gonna ask. Okay, Ping Pong is the 10.
I had to. Yeah.
Guys, help me bully Onimaru into coming up with a new favorites list.
Okay.
So
eventually.
Because I need to know, because I stalked your Mal, and this is funny. I'll save this for after this conversation. But okay. I stalked your Mal, and I was like, I need to know like what he thinks about this stuff. And I wasn't sure if you added Tatami or Ping Pong, so I had no idea what score you gave them.
I didn't, because I save it for the pod.
Oh, excuse me.
Because I know you'll be looking for it. I purposely don't look at your Mal because I want to find that on the pod.
That's true. Okay. But this came up because I went to go
content.
Yeah, that's true. I'm failing at the content part by just posting screenshots from Legends of the Galactic Heroes and being like L plus ratio, and it'll.
I had to be like, Shaw, please preserve the rating.
I was gonna say something. I was gonna say like I can't post any more screenshots because Onimaru's gonna bully me out of like, talking about it, which is
I don't
more
want
than
to find
valid.
Out inadvertently.
This is more valid than what I'm doing, where it's just like lol fail, like just the whole time.
It's good as notes. Just keep the juicy
lol,
bits. Just preserve the juicy bits.
Yeah, but so this came up because I lost a bet during fantasy football to replay value, and I have to read Spirit Circle. But Tay also has to read Spirit Circle. So he comes to us and he's like, did you guys read Spirit Circle? And I'm like, I am watching 80 episodes of Legends of the Galactic Heroes in 2 weeks. I have no time to read Spirit Circle. And then he's like, I think you owe me this longer. So I was like, let's check the date. And then I went to check when you finished Legends of the Galactic Heroes. And it's been over a year since you finished it. And I was like, sorry, replay. I do, in fact, actually owe Onimaru this longer. Thoughts and prayers for Onimaru. So
I finished it in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So that's, if I can finish it in 2 weeks, then
I finished it in 2 weeks, but now I have the gargantuan, because I see that it's so fresh in your mind right now. I'm like, shit, I have to go through 110 episodes in a week. How am I going to do this? Like today I'm like refreshing on Tatami and Ping Pong. I'm like, crap, this should be time going to Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
You could just like read my thread and the wiki summaries. It's like the same.
Oh, I'm reading the thread. I'm using that.
Mine, like, latest ones are like, your dad doesn't love you, and it's like, yes, this is what we need
It's
to
perfect.
remember.
This is the perfect reminders. Like, yes, we're just gonna pull your thread up on screen, and we're just gonna go through each moment and be like, okay, what did this mean? Let's expand on this. Because
Yeah.
truly, it's the highlights that stuck out in your mind. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, so I do owe you Legends of Galactic Hero longer than I owe Replay Spirit Circle.
I still owe replay stuff, but you know what? He's probably not listening, so let's not say anymore.
Yeah, we'll see. He's not paying attention. He won't know. This will be a test. If he doesn't call us out on this, I'll be like, did not watch the pod, L plus ratio.
And an hour later from now, this is like clipped and posted on the timeline.
If they do, that would be kind of funny. But Spirit Circle podcast
challenge. So Crybaby,
Devilman Crybaby. So this is kind of gonna be the odd man out in terms of I didn't give it a 10, so it looks bad by comparison. But I think Devilman Crybaby is a very interesting Masaaki Yuasa work because I think it is his most popular work.
Yeah, like I think by virtue of like its reach and how many people watched it and liked it and like talk about it. Like I guess popular in the sense of most talked about, right?
Yeah, like I don't think it's his most acclaimed work. I think it's his most popular or most watched work. That's essentially what I mean. And by that, I don't even necessarily mean by actually it is on Mal. I checked. Devilman Crybaby, according to Mal, for comparison, how many people have logged Devilman Crybaby on Mal is 500,000 members compared to Tatami Galaxy at roughly 400,000. So twice as many as Ping Pong and Tatami. So I was right. But I think it is because of the Netflix push and because of the source material being as noteworthy as it is. Because for people who don't know, Devilman Crybaby is an adaptation of the Devilman manga, which came out in like the 70s and is essentially a very influential work for series like Berserk, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Like it's kind of like it's an OG that has influenced later OGs, you know?
Yeah. Like I actually like the thing I like about Mal is how you can look up top anime by score and then like click the tab for most popular and you can see stuff that isn't like critically acclaimed but is like really talked about in the community that you always see pop up even though it's not score wise critically acclaimed. And Devilman Crybaby, I thought it was gonna be in the top 50, but it is still here. It's in like number 122. Yeah. But like score wise, it wouldn't even be like in the top 200, I think, of Mal.
Yeah, which is not saying much, seeing what is in the top 200 of Mal, aka our favorite film, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. So shout out to our episode on I Want to Eat Your Pancreas.
Yeah. Did you hear about the, actually, you know what? Save that for, I'll mention that one. Never mind.
The foreshadowing.
But so let's talk about Crybaby. I'm also kind of like in the same boat. So it is one of the most popular, but I also don't like, I'll say it this way. Devilman Crybaby is an anime I learned to appreciate. Take that as you will.
I understand exactly what you mean. I have said the exact same phrase for so many things. Someone had a really cool comment on Devilman Crybaby that actually fits into this work because, Muscart said, my IRLs will finish Devilman Crybaby and be like, yeah, I love the visuals. What other anime are like this? And it's hard to not recommend Tatami because they probably won't like that. And I think that kind of goes both ways. Like, I don't think you'll like Devilman Crybaby just because you like Tatami, and I don't think you'll like
it would be such
vice
a
versa.
jarring, like if you like the content of Devilman Crybaby and then you go to Tatami, it's like completely jarring, like night and day. And I think like since it is the director digest, I think it's a testament to how like versatile Yuasa is.
Yeah, and the content is very different. I mean, the content we're talking about across this episode, we're talking about Groundhog Day, college student, some like surreal comedy, abstract symbolism for sports anime, and now we're talking about apocalyptic. What even genre is Devilman Crybaby?
Devil sex, devil nightmare fuel sex.
Devilman devil sex. Crying.
And lots of crying.
Lots of crying. So James said, I kind of figured it was his most popular work because I had I had multiple friends who don't watch anime tell me that they watched it after coming across on Netflix. And that's what the big thing is, like, if something is on Netflix, I assume it's going to be watched more often than things on Crunchyroll, because, people will watch things on Netflix without having to be driven there. Whereas like people who watch stuff on Crunchyroll are there because they want to watch anime. So I could 100% see someone just kind of like scrolling through Netflix and they see this, they hear the cool da 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 da, and they see some crazy shit going down, and they're like, this doesn't inherently look like anime. This kind of looks like some hardcore Ed and Eddie thing. I'm gonna watch this because it kind of looks like some of the chaoticness and style of Ed and Eddie, which I say is a compliment. I liked Ed and Eddie. So you just see that, and it's like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And it's only 8 episodes. So
yeah, it goes quick.
The connection is there.
Yeah, but I just remember like it did make such a huge stir in the community when it like first came out, like when it all dropped in like January, like 2018, like it was years back, but like it was like everybody was talking about it, and like for good reason. It was like it was a lot. It is a lot. And
it all came out at once. So like I think we're not really used to having like an entire season that's that polarizing from such an acclaimed director that's so accessible drop just like at once at the beginning of the year.
And I think that's when like the community was still getting adjusted to that. Like that still wasn't like the norm. So it was like you'd be used to like having like a whole season pass by and people are like talking about the whole thing, not just like suddenly this all dropped and now the whole week everybody's talking about the whole thing and you're just like, what just happened?
Yeah. And I remember this. I think I also remember that there's always that gap of like a week between the fall and winter season. And I think it dropped in that gap. So there was no other anime to talk about. Like
exactly.
So like, it was kind of the perfect storm.
Yeah.
But so we're talking about like the impact a lot. I think we both kind of felt, actually, I don't know exactly how you felt. I think the way I think of it is, I think the first half of it was like such a gratuitous display of like sex, violence, chaos. I was like, okay, like, but what are we doing here? And then the second half, I was like, I see what we're doing here, and I get it, and it hurts. I get it. I get it.
Like, I don't know. Like I describe it like this. I kind of wrote about it once, like in a video. That's also kind of like why I watched it, like a long time ago. I was like wrapping up like my thoughts on all like the 2018 anime. So like I had watched all of it and I was like trying to like articulate like what I thought about it. And I pretty much came to like, it's super overindulgent, like brutally, like it's brutal and overindulgent with both like the sex and the gore and like the violence and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like hypnotic, like with the soundtrack, with like the colorful art style, like with the Yuasa. That was actually, I think, my first Yuasa experience. Yeah. So interesting way to get introduced. Yeah. But like his style, like now, like having seen like more of his shows, I realize now like it lends itself to like the horrifying like surrealism like that the show like presents. Like where everything is like nightmare fuel. But like that combined with the head bopping music, that like it just made it feel like you couldn't stop watching. Like you were like, it was brutal, but then you were also curious, and then you kind of like, you just were kind of allured, you felt the allure of it. But I would agree with that. Like that first half was just like, okay, what are we doing here? And then like all together, it was just trying to like snuff out like all sense of hope. Like you just felt like, I'm not uplifted whatsoever.
Yeah, I think something I really appreciate about the Yuasa style is that he's very simplistic, straightforward, kind of very cartoony looking designs and animation. They all help you focus a bit more on like the emotional impact on it than the gratuity of everything. Because as I've seen in like other works of his, which we will talk about in part 2 that have been mentioned in chat, we'll see, wink wink, is that there's a lot like on paper, if you describe what's happening, it's like some pretty hardcore shit going down. But because because the characters don't look like super detailed or so superhuman, you're aware of the violence and what's going on, but it doesn't feel as extreme as if we had like very human looking violence where it might get a bit over the top. And I think Devilman Crybaby does go over the top, but it's a bit more toned down because of his art style. And because of that, you're kind of able to focus on like the emotional, systematic, like societal impacts of everything, you know?
Yeah, and I do agree with that because his art style pretty much is really good at like blending in with each other. So like
Yeah.
one scene, one character, it could all like blend in seamlessly into the next, and so like that makes it feel like less real, you know.
Yeah.
And that's also what's like mesmerizing about it. But while I agree, there are some scenes that I do not want to rewatch, that I do not want to relive.
Yeah. I think the
There's a few
second
things I was like, if I had to watch this again, I would not.
Yeah, I think the second half, like the first half, I'm watching stuff and like I'm kind of watching things happen, but I'm not really caring about it. But I think by the second half, I was like, you're kind of like, so they're gonna like get out of this, right? And it's like, no, so like, no, like no one's gonna get out of it. And I think experiencing Devilman Crybaby was kind of a cool experience because I learned about the connections to other works like Berserk and Evangelion afterwards. And I'm like, okay, so this kind of set the standard for like the no hope, all hope is lost, apocalyptic, all things being destroyed ending that I've seen people kind of refer to. It's kind of like the benchmark of like very nihilistic, unhappy endings. But they still do a really good job, in my opinion, with the ending of showing I'm gonna look up the names because I'm
Did it influence the Eclipse and Berserk?
Yeah, it's like so the Eclipse instrumentality, it's Devilman Crybaby.
Well, because
your background's Devilman Crybaby.
Yeah, no, because like when I saw the what is it? When I saw the ending of Devilman Crybaby, and I'm like seeing like the red like sea and like the cliff and like how it all looked, I'm like, this looks like the final scene in End of Evangelion.
Yeah.
And I looked it up after, like it really looks like the final scene in End of Evangelion. And then I look it up after and like, oh, Anno was influenced by Devilman. I'm like, oh.
I think it's one of those things that pretty much every somewhat apocalyptic anime we're seeing at some point was either influenced by Devilman Crybaby or was influenced by something else that was influenced by Devilman. So it's fundamentally in the DNA of the medium. Like it's just everywhere. But so I think the last scene with Ryo and Akira where you know, the war is over and it's taken that long for Ryo to realize like Akira was his friend and like he actually cared about it, but like half of Akira's body is gone. Like he's been dead for a while, and seeing him cry over him is such a powerful ending that like really got to me, that I like really got the whole purpose of all of this like pointless violence and like over the top display of just like hatred and war and like everything. And I'm like, you know what? This was worth it. This was worth everything in the end, but it was very sad.
Like I got it, but I feel like it would have hit harder if I was more attached to like Ryo.
Yeah.
And the main character, I forget his name. Like either of them. Like if I was like more attached to them as like characters, like or more invested, I feel like it would have hit harder. But like it was enough for me to like get the point. You know, like how like it was all about like, you know, the absence of love and like, you know, you can't like everybody in the show was like, it was all emphasized that everybody keeps like choosing themselves, you know, and like going by their own carnal instincts. When everyone at the same time, and you find out Ryo at the end, like they're all desperately crying for connection. So
they got to pass the baton. I remember that sequence for like 10 minutes. It's just pass the baton.
Is crazy. I like that sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like that spoke a lot on a lot of levels of like, and then like Ryo just refused the baton. So yeah, the music was peak.
The music was. Do you like? Is it your favorite Yuasa soundtrack so far?
I feel like for someone that didn't pay attention to most of the soundtracks, I think I have to pick that one by default. So I'll say yeah, because it's only been like 3 shows and I didn't pay careful attention to the other 2. So yeah. My favorite.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I think I overall gave it like a 7, and I think it is Devilman Crybaby is one of those shows that I think is good. I think it has some issues, at least in terms of like not really appreciating how over the top gratuitous it was, because I think I could have still appreciated the ending and how everything happened without the gratuitous nature. But I also am fine with it since that was like the journey we went on. But I can equally understand someone saying Devilman is a masterpiece as I can them saying this is trash and I hate it. It's like, I respect both sides.
I get the point of the gratuitousness after like thinking about it. I mean, I feel like at points, like you're saying, it was still too much at times. Like not always necessary, but I get like the point again is like this world and people and characters devoid of again like caring about each other and not connecting and just choosing themselves and like all that stuff, and that's like driving it all home. Like this is like humanity not like no like caring about sacrifice and doing things for each other, and it like especially emphasizes the main character who's like truly selfless and like really trying to speak to others, and just no one's like listening to his message, especially because he looks like a devil. But
major L for humanity.
Yeah, and it was kind of frustrating, like seeing him like not being able to do anything to stop the madness, which sucked. Like that really was like depressing.
Yeah,
but but the one thing that it did make me think, overall, since we're talking about Yuasa, I think I haven't seen all of his other shows, but based on these three, I think like the connection to others is like or connecting to others is a recurring theme in his work.
Definitely.
Because it was in Tatami Galaxy. It's sort of in Ping Pong. I think it's there.
Oh, definitely. Because they have that whole scene in the last episode where they're like, it's like all the kids like holding hands and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Here in Crybaby, I did watch The Night is Short Walk On Girl, and it was there. But that could be also because the same author of the same novel. But it's just like, if that is, it's like he's like tackling like all these like drastically different like genres, different content, you know, but he still is keeping like that main like core theme of like, you know, like tying it together about like the message of like connecting to others. So, I think that's cool. Other thoughts? I did give it a 7 out of 10 as well.
Classic 7.
Yeah. I don't like, so back then I thought it was like super overindulgent, but now after having watched Euphoria, I don't think it's as overindulgent. So,
Euphoria is an interesting one. I got some thoughts on Euphoria too, but
save that for like the live action,
the live action tier list.
Yeah, I have thoughts as well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good show. It's one of those things where like, I mean, this is seasonal anime brain rot. I would say that like Devilman Crybaby was one of those shows where like when I look at 2018 as a whole, it's one of my favorites of the year, and I'm really glad to have that come out in the midst of like everything else that came out, because sometimes you get like caught up in the seasonal grind and you feel like you see a lot of shows that are very similar feeling, and Devilman Crybaby definitely stands out. And as evident by our podcast being made today in 2022, we're talking about it years later. But if I look at Devilman Crybaby in the grand scheme of the medium and like every anime that's come out, every anime that we've seen, it doesn't hold up as well as some of the others, you know? But if I look at it in this vacuum, I greatly appreciate it, which sounds like a backhanded insult.
It was insane. Yeah.
It sounds like a backhanded insult, but it's not really like, but I feel positively on it. So I don't mean that as an insult.
I mean, I thought your favorite that year was honestly Darling in the Franxx, so I'm surprised. Really, but you know.
It's no Darling in the Franxx, of course.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I think for its time it was like really good. Now it's sort of like, you know, would you like rewatch it? Maybe, you know, but
I would I keep thinking like, you know what, I should rewatch it, and then I'm like, you know what?
I'm having a good day.
Maybe.
You know, I'm good.
Maybe, yeah. Like, do I watch it? I don't know.
It's like I'm feeling uplifted, you know?
Just,
you need a downer. Like, do you typically like if you know like a movie or a series is a downer beforehand, not like, you know, like if you know it's like a downer beforehand, do you purposely choose to go watch it?
I think I choose things to rewatch or watch based on how much effort there is to pay attention to it rather than if it's happy or not. Because I'll watch I'll be like chilling and I'll have Netflix up and I'll be like, okay, do I want to watch any of these? And then it's like, do I want to read subtitles? Do I want to deal with this? But I don't think about like the emotional content as much, especially if I've already seen it, because like, I don't think I'm going to feel like more upset over Devilman Crybaby the second round than like the first time. Like I know what's going to happen. So I'm like, I'm chill.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of one of those shows you don't want to have like up and then like just anyone's just like walking in and like you have it in the background. Like, what the fuck?
I tried to show my husband at one point. I was like, hey, maybe he'll like this one. And he's like weird. Like he doesn't like fan service at all. So at some point it showed like one of the main girls, like just like her butt was like in front of the screen.
the
He's like,
screen.
"What the fuck is this?" And I'm like, "This is gonna get so much worse. So we're gonna not watch this. Like, we're gonna go back."
Wait, so for your husband, you like really have to tailor the anime you show him, because like a lot of anime
he's picky.
has a lot of fan service.
Yeah, I just keep in mind that like he's just gonna be like, okay, what the fuck? But like he's also like not consistent about it because he watched Kill la Kill and liked it. So
well, that
I
wasn't
think
fan service. That
yeah.
was something else. That was
a lifestyle. Yeah. I think it's just it was just like that kind of like, and that's in like the first 5 minutes of Devilman Crybaby. So like, you know, we saw some ridiculously gratuitous scenes, but even at some of the passing scenes, like I guess if someone doesn't like fan service of just like the camera is looking at someone's butt, like covered, but like still their butt, like it's gonna be raise some flags for them of like, okay, but like what are they doing? Which, you know, to us, we're probably just like, you know, same song and dance. We just keep going forward. We continue. We just keep moving forward.
I think, well, Devilman Crybaby compared to some other anime with fan service did have like full frontal nudity. So it's like, it's more of like that R-rated like anime, like compared to some, especially since it's on Netflix. But in terms of rewatches and like watching stuff like that, like how you said, it's depending on the effort. I've been actually like getting a lot smarter about that recently, because like I do like to have something on in the background, but I've had like some bad experiences of just putting stuff that's like completely like new that I've never watched before. Yeah. And then like I'm trying to pay attention to something else, but then I end up being glued to what I'm watching, and it's like, no, I got to do rewatches. And then it's like, no, but I got to do a low effort rewatch. Yeah. So I did that for like all of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So that's like how I just caught up so easily. It's like, oh, this is very easy to rewatch in the background.
Yeah, I hate that. I think my biggest pet peeve of like me watching something is like when I'm watching a scene and I don't pay attention to something, and then I feel like I've missed it and I have to go back and like rewatch the scene, and I'm like, okay, this is just frustrating. I either have to like focus on it, especially with subtitles, or just like do something else. Yeah. Exactly. We got Crybaby's the only Yuasa work I've seen that I don't like, TBH, and I think that's pretty understandable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's Crybaby.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it's like it's not. It's one of those shows that's just like not hard to understand why someone wouldn't like it, because it's just the content itself. It's like not super uplifting, but like you said like a little earlier, like it's also easy to see if someone thought it was a masterpiece, because it does lend itself to like having this like grander message.
Yeah. I also think, you know, sometimes I'm very glad that something exists, because then others take inspiration from it and make something I like more. So I'm very glad that Devilman exists. For all we know, we might like the original manga more. I might check that out at some point. I heard it's very short. So for all we know.
Sorry. Like I heard it's very similar though.
Yeah, I mean,
like in content, like like they were like, a lot of this isn't like Yuasa doing, like a lot of this is just the original source material was like this.
Yeah, but sometimes it might work a bit better in that context. Like you never know. But I 100% believe like it's just Devilman. But I am very glad that Devilman exists, so we get Berserk and Evangelion.
I agree with that.
This leads into I don't like Japan Sinks or Ride Your Wave either. I have to see Ride Your Wave. I think that and another movie are like the only ones I haven't seen. But I also haven't seen Japan Sinks, and I'm probably not going to see it because I saw the first episode, and I have this like thing where there's so many series where they have this really good first episode, and I feel like they don't need anything else. Like they'd have a really powerful first episode and it could have like their own message, but then they have the rest of the series and it's like infinitely worse. But this, like Japan Sinks, the first episode is like really disturbing, but like really compelling at the end of like all this family like finding their way back to each other after a natural disaster. The rest is like a battle royale with like versus like the environment. Like it's like Earth Strikes Back. Like it's like I'm not feeling it. So I don't think we're going to talk about Japan Sinks in this series.
Has Yuasa like become like, I'm just curious here because I mean his most recent works are just Japan Sinks, and was there something else?
Yeah, so that's the movie that was mentioned in like
so Rider Wave was also recent? No, Inuo.
Okay. So that movie came out. I think it is out. Correct me if I'm wrong, experts. Like, I think it is out, but I think like Yeah, I think it's out, and I've heard very good things about that.
Okay. Because I was gonna ask if Yuasa has like
Oh, it
become
came out on my
like,
birthday. That's so funny.
oh, okay. Has Yuasa become like more hit or miss? Like, is he considered like sort of hit or miss, or is he still kind of lauded as like, he's just had like a few, that are like okay, but generally overall really good.
Um, I think he would still be considered like one of the top contemporaries of the medium, but I think he's been focusing a lot more on movies like Inuo, and then I know that he came out with like when I was like picking up when I was doing my homework, I saw like you had Night a Short Walk On Girl came out, Lou Over the Wall, and those both had like some like I most people liked Walk On Girl more than Lou. I was one of the dissenters. I liked Lou more than Walk On Girl.
Spoiler.
And then whoops. And then those came out before, and then Devilman came out, and then Ride Your Wave came out, and then Azokin came out. I think most people liked Azokin. So I think people feel like maybe I don't think any of these series have really reached the heights of Tatami and Ping Pong.
Yeah.
But I think people still respect what he comes out with, and they're interested in watching whatever he comes out with either way. So I think he's just so respected that like people are like, we're gonna watch at the very least.
Yeah, because he does some, like really unique work that does stand out.
Yeah.
Do I have to watch Ride Your Wave?
I have to watch Ride Your Wave because I'm so close to being complete.
But like, is that something we're discussing?
I mean, I will watch Ride Your Wave, and then I'll see if we have to discuss it. To answer the question,
keep the list manageable.
See, you were trying to kick this one off to the next one, and I got the like receipts of what we got to watch.
I could say something controversial right now.
Say it.
I think I like Devilman Crybaby more than Night is Short Walk On Girl.
So that's why you don't want to talk about it. Should we just talk about it?
I don't have
that much to say either, but I have to rewatch it now that I'm Tatami pilled. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to say it. You got to say it. We're taking it off the list for next week.
Oh, so you want to talk about it?
Yeah, let's just do our brief thoughts because I don't think either of us have too much to say.
Yeah, let's go with your, if you vaguely remember it, you probably have your initial thoughts,
So I watched it, and this was back before I call it Tatami pilled. So this was in between my first watch of Tatami and like my most recent opinion where I was like, okay, Tatami is very good, but I don't think it's great. And then I watched Night is Short Walk On Girl, and I thought it was like a really like charming, like cute comedy. I liked the different adventures during like college night of like going out drinking. They have this like random play going on, which was pretty funny. But I didn't like how they had like an MC like character. Like they kind of had the main character ish from Tatami, and he's in the background and he's vying for the main girl's affection. But the difference is like he hasn't gone through the same experience as the main character from Tatami. So he's not really like compelling, but they have him go through the same type of like Tatami breakdown in like the last third of the movie. And I'm like, okay, but like this isn't actually Tatami Galaxy. Like this is separate. So it felt a bit unearned, but I did think it was like mostly pretty charming.
I feel like
go off.
I feel like I don't know. It could have also been because I felt like I have to watch this, so I'm just kind of getting through. But I figured at some point something like you've said this before, like something's gonna click, and then I'm just gonna be naturally interested. But I was waiting a long time.
Okay.
Nothing ever clicked. So I was just like, okay, because I felt like, okay, this movie, I can see how it's charming. It's trying to be charming, but I'm not charmed.
I am not charmed.
I just don't give a shit. I don't know. Like, I don't want to be mean, but like, I'll just be mean. Whatever.
Like, dude, be mean. You're never mean. It's always my turn to be the hot takes master.
Care about like, okay, like I just didn't get. I guess like the point was the girl was going on these adventures at night, and like it was kind of like just random stuff she kind of kept getting into. But then it also made it seem like it was about this dude like trying to like get this unrequited love, like reciprocated from her, and like they introduced it at the beginning, but then they ended up like throwing him to the background and having him in the background like the whole entire time, which sort of threw me off as to, okay, so it's not about that. So what are they trying to do here? And then I guess like it's just kind of her, like again, her adventures that a lot of the times didn't feel that compelling. Like I wasn't really interested in. And then towards the end, I will say, and it did like start to come together more when they, started title dropping and sort of like, bringing him back into the fold, which I did get that feeling of like, it's like trying to be like Tatami, but his part doesn't resonate as more because we haven't been focusing on him as much throughout the whole movie. And now it's like showing up at the end. And then they were like trying to tie it back together with her, like how she's always kind of kept moving forward. And like never stopped to really think about relationships. So there's kind of like that. And then there was like they were doing like a parallel between the underwear guy that wore the same underwear and how he was trying to get the love of his life. And she thought that was like so romantic, and like finally meeting like the person, like, that he was fated to be with. And they were trying to like kind of parallel like the other guy that, like he's like trying to meet her this whole time by like faking these coincidental encounters. But I don't know. It was like, this is nice. I like certain parts of it. I like some of the messaging it says at the end, but like something about the execution like feels off, that it's not making me like invest in it. I think like the art is really good. It's really like the style was very reminiscent of Tatami Galaxy, and like a lot of really cool visually like creative, like stunning scenes. But then I was like, but if I don't care about the story, like what does it matter? So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I think it's stronger in terms of like the whimsical comedy aspect. But if you're not finding it that funny, like the funny over the like kind of absurd journey that's happening, then I don't think you're going to be as connected. And I was kind of hit or miss on that. But since that was the element I connected with more on the Tatami rewatch, that's the only reason I think I'm going to be more, I'm going to find it more enjoyable on rewatch. But I agree that it's so tough when I feel like in the last third, they're trying to pull a Tatami-like resolution, which inherently makes you compare it to Tatami Galaxy, because like that's, in our head, we're kind of like, okay, this is like not Tatami, but kind of Tatami-esque, but it's a movie. So it's so tough to compare. And then I think just knowing in the back of your mind what like it could be if you were actually like connected to this character, you're like, okay, so this could probably be better.
Well, what makes it also harder to not think of Tatami too is just because they have some characters that are in there that are
literally in Tatami.
You have Ozu, you have Higuchi or Hanuki, like those three. So it makes you think like, oh, okay, so it's like somewhat connected, but it's not. So it's like,
that's Tatami cinematic universe.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so basically like the comparison, it's harder for the comparison to escape your mind, and it's like, okay, like Tatami, like you had all this, like we were saying, like the random like things going on with the guy's campus life and all of like the little adventures and all of that, but there was like a point to that at the end, and it all like kind of came together to emphasize like what he was missing out on, and kind of like the fun and all of that, and also that he was looping, not looping, sorry, but like parallel dimensions or whatever. But here it was just stuff that was just happening on one very long night. Although I did like the thing with like the clocks like going at like super speed to kind of represent like people who like felt like lonely or like they weren't living their best life, or were getting older even, like they just felt like time was just passing them by like completely. And then like, when they finally found like their point of living, which at the end was like connecting with others, time went back at a relative like normal pace.
Yeah, that's a cool detail. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was it. Like super.
Sometimes, and that's my thing. A lot of times, films. I think I always think I think people in general have more extreme opinions on films, but like it's you get like 2 hours to make an impression, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. Sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it was kind of bad because like I was like watching the time.
Yeah.
Like, I was like looking at the time, and I'm like, it hasn't been 10 minutes yet. What's going on?
Yeah, sometimes
I
it just
I feel
like
kind of lame because I know it's supposed to be like, I could get how it's supposed to be charming and whimsical, and like I should like this.
You don't have to like them all though. You don't have to.
I don't feel connected. So I don't think it was for me. So, but it is similar to Tatami in that regard. So I felt like, I should be into this, but not. So
yeah, sometimes it just misses the sauce. I'm gonna rewatch it and see if I feel any different. But there's a good chance that I'm just kind of like, it was fun, but like not that fun. And sometimes that just, it is what it is. But I think it is cool to see it's kind of like the Tatami art style, kind of like dialed up with like a movie budget, but
Yeah,
like
that was really cool.
really cool. I think there are a lot of really cute creative choices that I like seeing her adventure of like going out drinking, and it's like, doesn't my nights didn't look like that in college, but I think it's cool to watch like a really artistic portrayal of like people going out getting drunk and having fun.
I feel like, I don't know, I came out of it with like, I still think like by the end of it, like, it had some cute moments and like how it wrapped up was nice. So I was like, this is like a 6 out of 10. It's fine.
That's what I gave it too. You sound so much more harsh and for these scores, and I'm like,
this is me being mean.
This is the mean Onimaru arc, and it's so positive.
I do see the value in it, and I feel like part of me feels like I'm also kind of like probably being hard on it because it feels like homework too. So there's like that bias. Like I gotta get this done. I gotta watch this. The clock is ticking, but
just like in the movie.
Yeah. But I also feel like if I rewatched it, I'd possibly be a little more positive on it just because I kind of know what to expect. And like, I guess like not being sure of where it was going and what to like invest in, like throughout the whole movie made me feel like, okay, I don't really know here. Like where is this all leading to? Like the one thing with like the play, like towards like the third act where it had like so many twists of like the dude hijacks the play, then he falls into a trap door, then the other lead actor comes back up, then he finds the girl of his dreams that he's been waiting for, but then turns out it's a guy, then it's the guy that's the head of the, like, he's like the director of operations that's trying to take down all the guerrilla play productions. Yeah. But then he's like, screw it, I don't care if you're a man, I want to be with you. They're gonna start making out, but then twist, other redhead girl that's been supporting him the whole time confesses and like, no, look at me. And then he's just like, no, I have to commit to this. I got to commit to the bit. And then he goes to make out with the other guy. And then I thought they're legit doing this. They're going to go all the way. But then in both of their heads are like, please give me an excuse. Give me an out. And then suddenly, I forget what happens. The other guy gets like, I guess shot out or whatever through a trapdoor. Then he sees the other girl, something falls on their head, like a stuffed animal. They fall in love with each other, and that's that. And I'm like, that whole sequence was just like...
I do have to say, the phrase guerrilla plays, as in they are coming out of nowhere and putting on plays, is hysterical. Like, that whole thing is so funny of like, you never know when they're just going to show up and do a play. I did, weirdly enough, start getting a little more invested in that part. I was just like, okay. I think that's like the highlight of the film is the like absurd adventures of like going out. Yeah, and I feel like I didn't get that for like a good chunk of it. And I felt like maybe when it was like that late in the game, I was just like, oh, I think this was the point. And I was like, okay, well... This is a 6 for now. I'll have to rewatch it. Like, watch me rewatch it and get like so enamored, and then I'm like, guys, I was wrong. Run it back. I feel like it can be your type of movie, so it could be. Yeah, I don't know. I have my hot movie takes. The masses aren't ready. Yeah, man. Like what you did to Liz and the Bluebird, savage. Which is I have ironically given the same score, so no one is safe from the 6 out of 10. Brutal. But that's about it. Like that's kind of, I think literally, unless there's some Yuasa work that I don't even realize is a Yuasa work, that's kind of covers all of that I've watched of him so far. You've clearly seen a bunch more. You have like one left, right? Ride Your Wave and the new, and as chat has amazingly confirmed that Inuo, it premiered at a film festival, but there's no Blu-rays yet, so we gotta wait and see. Yeah. So we're going to compile the list, and, well, I'm going to watch a lot of it. Shaw's going to watch the remaining ones, and then we're going to decide. And whenever that's done, we're going to do part 2 and finish out our Director Digest and all of our thoughts on Yuasa. This was fun, but next week, we have one quick question before we do the teaser. So we're halfway through. How do you feel about Yuasa now? How do I feel about Yuasa? Yeah. Is this your question? Yeah. Oh. It's tough to say. I pretty much gave 2 of his shows like a 10 and a near 10. So yeah. I think Yuasa's like really good. I think like I'll put it this way. I get the hype now. Actually, after Tatami, I
kind of got the hype, or even after Ping
Yeah.
Pong. I was just like, I entered Yuasa's world with Devilman Crybaby, and I just would always see all this like insane like praise for Yuasa, and I just felt like, I felt like I was there on the side, just like not
Yeah.
getting it. Like I want to get it, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then after Ping Pong, and then after Tatami, I'm like, I get it.
Okay.
I get it. So,
Yeah.
because I was like blown away, and I'm like, okay, I see like this is him at his best, and this is like really, really good. Like how he just sort of like takes these concepts and uses the medium, like, and like itself and the style as the substance, and makes it more visually engaging, and doesn't like, dump it all on you at once, like kind of draws it out while still keeping you engaged throughout. And like, you're just sort of like, and then it all comes together, and it's like, wow, that was like really, really good.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you like Yuasa and can see the hype. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if any of the upcoming stuff maybe reaches the same heights or is entered in the conversation. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to talk about that. I don't have a favorite anime director yet, so
You don't. So this could be the Onimaru finds his favorite anime director
possibly.
series.
Like, this is like the sub arc, like
I got a list of directors we could do because, I mean, I'm guessing. So you're not ready to commit to Ano. Is that it?
I don't know.
Or do you have to see more of his works to see?
Like, for me, Ano's just synonymous with Evangelion.
Okay.
So like, I mean, I know he's done other stuff, clearly.
Yeah.
But like,
you can watch Gunbuster and Karikano and then see.
Yeah, I feel like I have to watch Karikano, and I don't know what else.
I think Gunbuster. I don't know what else he's done.
Oh, I've never watched Gunbuster.
That one's pretty easy. That's 6 episodes.
Yeah, and
I have seen that, and I really like it.
Yeah.
Let me see what else he's done. I'll do the homework.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I could consider him.
Yeah. But so it's essentially
but he has a giant lead with Evangelion.
So we'll essentially try and see who other. Well, maybe we'll have your favorite directors list after we go through more of them. See what's up.
Yeah. No pressure. If they come up. If not, I won't commit to anyone. But no. But I'm interested in like really seeing like sort of like who like the best in the industry, and sort of like how their work is so like different from each other, and how they tackle different things. So that's interesting.
Nadia too. I haven't seen that. We could do the Ano director digest.
Nadia broke Ano, so.
Oh, woof. So we can. So that also leads into this is part 1 of the Yuasa director digest. We mentioned that, but we will be doing part 2, and we'll cover everything else. But director digest is a series we're going to be doing moving forward, which means we will have more directors to talk about. But we might have a limited list of directors. So if you want us to talk about any directors, please comment here on YouTube or on Twitter. Like, recommend directors for us to check out.
Yeah, and because for some of those directors, we'll possibly have to do the homework if we haven't seen all of their like acclaimed works, or only some. And if you think some are like, okay, these are the essentials that you need to watch from them, then list those too. We might know them already, and we might have already watched them. It just helps to kind of know what you consider is essential for us to really cover.
It helps in the conversation, because like when we're trying to speculate, we're like, okay, Ano is known for Evangelion, but we also have these other series that are relevant. Then Satoshi Kon, he has these series. Sometimes it's very clear cut, but sometimes it's not. So I have my list that we could have going forward, but I know that I am not as knowledgeable on anime directors as many others are. So please recommend more. I already got one for Oshi. That's a great one that like I need to watch more. I've only seen.
Does that mean we have to watch Angel's Egg?
I have it downloaded. I'm ready.
I haven't watched it.
We have to watch. That movie, I think, is like an hour.
We should do that as a group watch.
So yeah, that's gonna. Yeah, we also want to do. If you guys want to see us react to stuff too, that'll be a.
I'm more equipped. I'm actually pretty equipped to do a Satoshi Kon podcast. I mean, not podcast. Yeah, podcast or digest, director digest. And also maybe Watanabe too.
I'm equipped for 2 right now, maybe 3, with Satoshi Kon, Ikuhara, and maybe Ghibli. Miyazaki, not Ghibli.
Ghibli.
I'm kind of equipped for those 3 at the drop of a hat. But
I did start a whole Ghibli arc that I have not finished. It's been like on pause for a while, so
I'm almost up
my
to.
way through.
Yeah, we could do that too. I'm almost up to date with Hosoda and Katabuchi. I haven't seen. I don't know if I've seen any of their stuff. And then I'm almost up to date with Watanabe.
Okay.
So there are so many directors out there. Like that's what I mean. There's so many directors out there, and this is essentially you guys got to give Onimaru homework so I can get a head start on my other watching of things. Since we have determined Onimaru is better at the anime watching homework than I am.
Apparently.
We had
unless I feel like time is ticking down on me and I end up hating it.
They did In This Corner of the World. I should probably not talk about that.
I haven't seen that one yet.
You will probably like it. Most people like it.
Are you the way you feel about it, is it similar to how you feel about Grave of the Fireflies?
I like it more than Grave of the Fireflies.
Okay, that's good.
By like bad. One score. I think I just
finished that. But yeah.
I have my beef with In This Corner of the World is probably different than I don't think anyone else has beef with it. It's probably specific to me, and it mostly comes down to the main character.
Save it.
Oh yeah.
The pod.
getting ahead of myself. Anyway. Yeah, that's true. Speaking of war, Legends of the Galactic Heroes.
Yes.
Next week.
Coming to a pod near you, this pod. Next week. Yeah, this one, like not another one. Just tune into this one. Same channel. Next week, I hope you guys like this one. This Director Digest. It will be coming back at an unspecified date in the future. Hopefully near future, but it will come back at some point. But for now, all of our attention is going to Legend of the Galactic Heroes next week. Hope you guys tuned in. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And like always, like, comment, let us know what directors you want us to watch in the comments. And subscribe if you haven't already. And besides that, these are our thoughts on Yuasa's work, some of which we enjoyed, some of which we were okay on. We
were very positive on like 80% of everything we talked about. That was not a mixed podcast.
Some people take offense to 6 to 7s, Some people are just
I gave 2 10s. I gave 2 10s. This is a 10.
I gave a 9.5. Maybe someone's offended.
10. I'm offended. Don't use decimals. Just kidding.
But listen, Shaw chooses to be offended. That's on her. At the end of the day, what does she know? What do I know?
Don't know.
We're just weebs. And with that, we'll catch you guys later. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for hanging out with us.